Hi, everyone. I am Lily. I am a destination expert here at AdventureWomen, and today I'm joined with Arliss.
Hi, everybody. I'm Arliss Miles. I'm from Houston, Texas. I've traveled with Adventure Women since 2018, and this Italy trip was number 8 for me.
Wow. Yes, so today we'll be talking about our Piedmont trip, which Arliss was just on our most recent departure, and she's going to go through and tell us a little bit about her experience, some of her highlights, and overall what she thought of the trip.
Perfect.
All
It
right.
was a wonderful trip. There you go. So, what did I love about this trip? Well, I loved everything about this trip, but there's a couple of things that she's listed here. The unique itinerary. What I liked about this itinerary from the beginning was that it is a very unique area of Italy. I tell my friends I saw this much of that country. What I liked about that is I like to explore a particular area. That's number one. You get a very good idea about this particular area. The uniqueness is this is not touristy. So you're not fighting the crowds of Rome or Venice. Not that those aren't wonderful places, but you are really immersing yourself in local culture, local landscape, and the local food. And I really was drawn to that, to the people of Italy and the way Italy moves about every day without hordes of tourists around. The second part that's listed on this slide, the villa. This is a fully restored 100-year-old villa with many rooms. I don't even remember how many. They have individual rooms, they have dual rooms. Every room has its own bathroom. It's beautifully appointed and decorated and very, very comfortable. And then the slow food movement. Um, I didn't know much about the slow food movement, but that interested me. If anybody is interested, you can go to slowfood.com literally, and it is about promoting agricultural practices and sustainable consumption with local producers. And again, that's what I like about Adventure Women and traveling with Adventure Women is we're looking at the local culture, we're learning about the local people, and to me, that's what made this trip very, very uh, interesting, and I wanted to go on it.
Perfect. Okay. So I'll just go over for those of you who do not know, this is a level 2 trip, so that's our moderate pace trips, and these are typically pretty easy pace. You know, you might be doing a little bit of hiking, some longer walks, could be doing some activities like kayaking or e-biking. Most of the time, it's pretty easy to opt out of the activities. So this is why it's considered a level 2. And Arliss, maybe you can speak a little bit more on your experience in Piedmont, how you felt that the pace and the activities felt.
It's very relaxing. My girlfriend that traveled with me described it as relaxing. So there were many types. I was the oldest one on the trip at 69. We had a 19-year-old on our trip who was taking a sabbatical before she leaves for college, and it fit many different kinds of paces. For those who wanted to relax, they could like me, I'm always the last one in a hike and I'm usually the last one in the bike, but others could go faster. And if you just felt like staying in the villa and reading and relaxing or swimming or doing yoga, you could do that too. Most of us participated in every activity because there were so many wonderful things to do. So if you have some disabilities, this would be a good choice. And if you have abilities, but you just don't want to go that fast or that far or that high, this is perfect.
Okay, and so this is, maybe you can speak a little bit more on this,
Yes.
but this is just a map to show you
Mhm.
sort of where in Italy exactly you're going.
The region. So what you can see from the back door of that beautiful villa are the Alps. And if you notice on the map, you're just south of Switzerland. And so you could see the Alps out your back door with snow-capped mountains. It was gorgeous. Flying in and out of Milan, there are multiple airports where you're flying into the big airport. Um, So it was an easy trip from Houston, Texas. We made one stop in Chicago and took the rest of the way over. So it's an easy airport to navigate in and out of. We were picked up in Milan by a beautiful Mercedes van with a driver named Marco, and he took care of us the entire week we were there. So once you get to the villa, you're really not going that far from that destination. If you like to unpack one time and leave all your clothes in the drawers or in the closets, and you don't have to go from place to place, this is your trip. Because even though it looks like on this map, the longest trip you're going to make is from Milan to the region where we stay, the Rera region where we stay. All these other little circles, they're a short drive from where you are. And it's a very easy trip. And our van was well appointed, our guide and our driver Marco, very accommodating and fun. Ah, here is my favorite part. You know you're going to feel good when you walk in. So the room that you see at the top left, that's my actual room. That's a picture Carol and I took. We had a foyer that with a patio door that walked right out to the front, beautifully comfortable beds. We had a large bathroom. The pool region, it was a little cool for the pool, but it was open if we wanted to go. And then further south from that, if you go down that pathway, there was a fully appointed yoga platform. And then just the beautiful vistas. You see the pizza oven to your right, the outdoor dining, and then, of course, our beautiful villa, which is just magnificent.
And Arliss, could you tell me a little bit more about the meals you had when you were staying here?
I would love to. Let me tell you what, the first morning we wake up and I put on my little slippers and my little caftan and I walk out there and there are people, lovely women, making coffee and breakfast. There's a beautiful morning buffet every morning, coffee, espresso, fresh squeezed juice. It's just magnificent. And you can take your breakfast at the table, you can take it outdoors as you see on the patio. The meals are pre-planned, which I found to be very helpful. You got a little menu. Adventure Women had printed up a menu of what you were going to have for your meals. There was wine pairings with each meal, and that was very nice. And our guide named Emily, who was half Italian, half French, and a wine expert, explained the region that the wines came from. She explained the how our excuse me while I stumble. There's so much to say, but like in the mornings when you come, your eggs had come fresh from the farmer's market the day before. The
Uh,
herbs were picked on site. You know, it was just lovely. So that's what we had in the villa. There are women, young women and some old women every day cooking for us. They had a fully stocked refrigerator, so whatever we had left over, they just packaged up for us, put the corks back in the wine. It was fully stocked with sodas for those of us who didn't partake of the wine. And all the leftovers were packaged up that if we wanted to have it later for a snack, it was there for us. We just go make ourselves a coffee and have a little snack. It was absolutely lovely. And then if we weren't eating at the villa, we were eating at local restaurants. And I think there's a slide coming up in the future about that, but we were eating at local family owned restaurants. So they weren't parts of big chains. It was very nice.
yes, here
Yes,
we go.
there. Culinary experiences. So the one on which I'm looking at it on my right with the pizza oven, we had a pizza chef come in one night and he just made pizza after pizza after pizza of all different toppings and fired in that beautiful wood oven. And as you can see, we had sweaters on, so the evenings were cool and we could sit outside. The days were warm and it was just beautiful. I will tell you, if you walked around the corner, one of the nice things about staying at this villa was there were laundry facilities. It's the little
Oh.
things that make you happy, isn't it? So you don't have to overpack because there's laundry facilities and you can do a load of laundry while you're there. It was really, really very homey. One of our favorite nights, you see me putting pizza dough through the pasta, I'm sorry, pasta dough. You can tell I don't make my own pasta. We had our own chef. She was a culinary specialist, and she came over and taught us how to make this special. We made our own dough. We rolled it through the pasta machines, and we made something called plein, which is pinch. And we filled that dough with a ricotta filling, and then they cooked it for us, and we ate it. And it was paired with a lovely wine or beverage of your choice. And it was just a lovely evening. Yes. So, other culinary experiences you see my friend Carol on the left in the sunglasses. We are learning how to make goat cheese, and there are pictures on the coming up slides. Goat cheese, we visited a restaurant. Look at those wine vats in the middle. This was a young, up and coming winemaker who was explaining how he took his family farm and turned it into a wine area. I guess he'd taken vineyards and making his own wine. And then on the other slide, there's those of us who are sitting there at the wine tasting, and there's more information coming up about that too.
Oh.
We ate well. Truffle hunting. This was a blast. And my friend Carol said this was her favorite activity. She's the one in the blue coat. So you see the dog over on the slide, our truffle hunter. There's a word. I have it in my notes. There's a word for people who do truffle hunting. Hang on, hang on. An Trifalau, Trifulau, truffle hunter, a seasoned Trifalau in nearby Monta. So the truffle hunting dogs are trained from birth to hunt truffles. They put truffle oil on the mother's tummy. So as soon as the puppies are born and they start to nurse, there's truffle oil on the tummy, and they
Wow.
learn to recognize the smell. It's an active part of our day because you can see there's a hillside and you kind of have to run after the dog. We have on our puppy coats. It was a little cool that morning, but we managed. And so the dog is trained to smell the truffles in the dirt, go after, start digging. The triple owl, our friend that was doing that, managing the dog, once the dog identifies it, she digs it, and that's what a truffle looks like, just a little rock. It doesn't look like much, but that's what the dog was looking for, with those wonderful truffles in a beautiful green forest. And we just learned a lot about how to find truffles. Now, we were not there in white truffle season, but it was easy to find black truffles, and it was great fun. And then you also got a tour of the beautiful area that you were in. As you can see, it was very green and lush. It was quite fun.
And how was the terrain? Was it easy to walk around? Was it like a hike?
It was a hike. It was a hill. It's hilly in the Piedmont region. It is hilly. So you're going to walk up and down gentle hills. So some of the people were running down the hill after the dog, and some people like me were stopping to look at the ferns. So you can do what level you like. But this was a pretty active day. But it was doable for all levels, and you just go at your own pace, and they were willing to wait for you when you got there. It was very doable for all levels of activity. I don't think there's a picture of coming up, but what we did next was before I go to Goat Farm, what we did next, lunch was at the home of the truffle hunters. They have a restaurant. They only have two tables. So a group was at one table, we were at the other table. They take the truffles that you just hunted and make a recipe. We had pasta and
Oh
salad
my
and appetizers,
goodness.
and then of course a wine pairing for the each active for each dish. And they serve that for your lunch. And it's just, you're in someone's sweet, charming home, and they've just cooked for you. Magnificent, delicious. I had honestly only had truffles one time in my
Mhm.
life. And you can bring home truffle souvenirs. Bring more than you
Really?
think you want, because now I'm out and I wish I had more.
Okay, and then into the
Oh,
goat farm.
oh, goat farm. Did you know happy goats make good cheese? That's what we were told. Happy goats make good cheese. This gentleman, I'm probably going to get it wrong, but the man and his brother who owned this farm, he had left some sort of corporate job and come back home to his father's farm to take over this. And he taught us all about the herding techniques and the grazing techniques to keep the earth in check and to make good milk. And we got to milk our own goats. And you may see under there, there's a hand where my friend Gray is milking the goat. And they would put a little goat milk in that glass, and we'd all have a sip of warm goat milk.
Wow, fresh.
It was fresh, fresh goat milk. And then Nicole we all got to hold the baby goat, which is on everybody's bucket list, I think, certainly was on mine. And then we herded the goats back to the area and the farm. And then once again, we went to his mother's house where she served us appetizers. And they explained how we had goat cheese that was new, had aged a week, had aged a month, and explained the process of making goat cheese, and then had lunch at their home. Magnificent. A wonderful day. Beautiful sunshiny day. And there's beekeeping. And again, I did not bring home enough honey because you can buy the honey that was actually produced at this beekeeping farm. So we learned about, and again, this goes back to what we're talking about with the area. I want to go back and just one thing I didn't want to forget. It's mentioned in the Adventure Women website that this is a UNESCO protected region. And I actually had to look that up and kind of understand. The UNESCO designation was done in the year 2014. It's protected as a cultural landscape and recognized for bearing exceptional testimony to living wine growing traditions and for perfectly embodying man's sustainable interaction with his natural environment. And this is what this gentleman was teaching us about. We all have heard through various ways in our normal day-to-day activities that how important pollination is for the future of our food source. And we spend a lot of time learning about this. And again, these are young people who have come back to family farms or started their own farms to participate in this beautiful heritage of the slow food movement, treating the environment correctly, harvesting beautiful food, and treating animals and flora and fauna alike to where you receive the beauty of the nature. And this was very, very interesting. And there are the vineyards. As we were walking along scenic hikes, uh, you can see on the far end opposite of me the beautiful vineyards. Everywhere you go, you see a landscape that looks like this. Everything looks like that. It's very hilly. You can see the vineyards. You can see hazelnut orchards. They don't eat peanuts over there. Everything is hazelnuts. So when you eat breakfast in the morning, you put hazelnut spread on your toast instead of peanut butter because nobody eats peanuts. They eat hazelnuts. And then, of course, the one in the middle was towards the end of our trip, and we took a beautiful hike through this forest to sit under a 400-year-old chestnut tree. 400-year-old chestnut tree. It was magnificent. You can see Carol sleeveless there, so the weather had warmed up. It was just a beautiful, beautiful region.
And so the hikes you went on, how were they? Pretty gentle? How would you describe that?
Yes, I described them as gentle. My friends who hike with me know that I am from Houston. I don't even walk upstairs. I have no altitude abilities whatsoever. I own it because I've never acclimatized to being able to hike aggressively. So for me, it was just enough. It was rolling hills. We got to stop and start and take a lot of vistas, take in a lot of vistas, take pictures. It was just a beautiful way to see the countryside. No one was in a hurry.
Yeah.
It's just where are we going? We're in paradise. We don't need to hurry.
It looks beautiful.
It was absolutely beautiful. You can be at the front of the pack and go fast, or you can be on the back of the pack with me and enjoy the view.
And it looks like from the photos I'm seeing, it looks like there weren't so many people when you were there.
No, no, and that's part of that. Thank you for reminding me, Lily. I wanted to make a point of that. Is this is not a touristy area. This is where people live and work. Uh, People go to school. We saw kids going to school. You know, they're making their living. They're doing their work. They're living their day-to-day lives. It was not crowded. And that's one of the perks, I think, of traveling to this region is it was not crowded. So you actually got to see how people live and work and create and just be in their environment.
That's beautiful.
It was hard to describe. Look at that greenery. Look at that. Wow. So if I was going to describe anything that was our most vigorous part of it, the e-biking was. Um, but it was great fun. And this is the nice thing about electric bikes. You can go as fast or as slow as you want to. We had a guide, and Emily, our day-to-day guide, was with us the whole time. So some of us were at the back of the pack, being leisurely, and other people they were doing it all, 100%. But we went through some wooded areas that were a little mountain bike-ish, and some of them, like me, walked our bikes through it, and some of them plowed right through. That's fine. And then the most impressive part was our guide took us through all these beautiful villages, and we got to ride through these cobblestone streets and do the going up the hillsides back and forth in little hairpin turns. But again, you had the power of your e-bike. It was just glorious. The weather was perfect, as you can see. Look at that green area. So we did nature and we did biking through the little villages. And then on our way home, it was a great afternoon. I came home wanting to buy an e-bike for sure.
Okay, so okay. All right. Sorry, I didn't realize the next slide is already the end. So Arliss, well, thank you for, talking to me. I'm curious to know before we wrap things up, kind of what made you curious about this trip? Because I feel like, there's people when they think of Italy, they think of, Rome, they think of these big touristy places.
Mhm.
They might not even have heard of Piedmont. So what kind of drew you to this trip and how would you describe it when talking to someone who maybe hasn't been there and is curious?
So what drew me to the trip originally was I just did not want to do hiking hut to hut Dolomites. And told, I had mentioned to several people at AdventureWomen that I was just not up for that activity. So when they made this trip, ask them, I was the first one to sign up. I was number one on the list because I wanted to go to Italy, but I just didn't want to hike the Alps and the Dolomites and do that kind of thing. I don't feel like I had the experience to do that. So for me, for someone who didn't want to have that high level of an energy dynamic vacation, this was a perfect way to see Italy without having to have the super high dynamic vacation. Also, I just wasn't that interested in a crowded vacation. And just as a personal note, I'm a caregiver. I have elderly parents. My husband has been ill. And so when I go on vacation, I want to relax. I want someone else to cook. I want someone else to think. I want someone to drive me around. I I don't want to make plans. I want to just participate and immerse myself. So the first reason was because it was the moderate level of activity that suited me. The second reason, I just wanted to see the culture of the area and the slow food movement, the UNESCO region intrigued me. The activities were just enough to feel active, and I wanted to eat some good Italian food. That's
And
the
did
truth.
you?
Oh, yes, I did. See, that was the part, Lily, that I don't want to forget is that all the meals were, I mentioned it before, all the meals were pre-planned, and every day we had a menu that was actually set down for us. So we had an appetizer, a dinner, we had a wine pairing with every meal, and there are non-alcoholic beverages always provided, plenty of coffee. And so if you weren't having dinner at the village or at the villa, you were having dinner at a small restaurant in the village where our guide Emily often helped us to pick out. I ate plenty of gelato when we were in the beautiful town of Bra, and we also got to see the beautiful village of Alta, which is next to, not too far from Bra. And we got to see a beautiful sculpture in the town of Alta. And I was going to point out one thing. The town of Alta houses the Ferrero Group, which was founded in 1946. And for those of us in the United States who buy chocolate candy at Christmas time, Ferrero Rocher, those gold wrapped candies, that is that is a multinational company headquartered in Piedmont, and it's hazelnuts. And it is,
Wow.
so we got to see the town where that business is, and they're very philanthropic, and there were sculptures, and we got to go through the towns and do some shopping. So that's another thing, is that the afternoons are relaxed. Emily found places for us to all go shopping, to pick up different things that we wanted, scarves and purses and perfume and lots of snacks and goodies to bring home. It was just, you could sit at the small cafes and have a glass of wine and have a little snack and just watch the world go by while everybody was out doing their daily activities. Quite beautiful, quite lovely.
Wow. Well, now I want to go.
Yeah, you should. You should. It's magnificent. My friend Carol described it as miraculous.
Miraculous. I love
I
that.
like to give her credit. Yeah, we had a mother-daughter team that was there, and they were spending some time together before she goes to college. And then we had people who were interested in the slow food movement. We had people who are interested in the wine, people who are interested in the activities and the culture. One thing I will tell you about this trip is it's not a long trip. Some of us came in early and toured the area before. You're not far from Lake Como. I stayed after with Carol. We had 24 hours in Milan. And then KC actually joined a second trip after this trip was over. And she went further into Italy to see some of the other areas that are more well known, because she was interested in looking at things like fabrics and paintings and had her own agenda. And then Nicole actually left and went to another country to visit some friends. So it's a central location that's easy to get in and out of if you want to add or subtract things to that trip. Most of us stayed over or came early, and I would recommend doing that.
Amazing. Okay, so then I will quickly just go through our departures. So we still have one departure this fall with a few spots left. That's going to be October 13th to the 19th. And then if you're looking ahead at next year, we will have one in April. It's going to be April 12th to April 18th, 2027. So, if you're thinking about going, now is the time. And with that,
There's Marco, our driver, and our beautiful, comfortable van. And our guide is not in that picture, but Emily was probably taking the picture. And we had Emily, and she was always there to offer. Oh, you know what, Lily, we didn't talk about? We didn't talk about the wine that some people might really be interested. Real quick, and I'll just add that on, is
yeah.
that we went to that University of Gastronomy, and in it housed that large wine area. So they had 100,000 bottles of wine. Yeah, the village of Polenzo, home of the first University of Gastronomic Sciences, and the wine bank dedicated to preserving the memory of Italian wines. So you go into this wine bank, and they have all these different bottles of wine, including jars of the dirt that the wine was grown in. And we had a sommelier who was from the University of the Gastronomic Sciences that explained all about, and they had a wine tasting. It was quite lovely and very, very interesting. So for those of you who enjoy that, that was a highlight of the trip.
All right, well, that brings us to the end. So if anyone watching is interested in the Piedmont trip, you have our number there, or you have our email. You can also reach out to myself, Amanda or Emily and Arliss to hear more about the trip. If there are any specific questions you had, we're here to answer them. And Arliss, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I really
You're
appreciate you
welcome.
joining us.
It was wonderful. I encourage everybody to take advantage of this beautiful trip.